Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I hope you and your family are in good health and are staying safe and healthy through these unusual times. This is my lecture number 4 for my ever best class, grade 01, Pakistan Studies, and we will continue with geography. We have already started unit number 8, which is power resources. In the previous lecture, we learned about renewable energy and non-renewable energy. I've told you that renewable energy is energy produced from sources that do not deplete or can be replenished within a human's lifetime. The most common examples include wind, solar, geothermal, biomass, and hydropower. This is in contrast of non-renewable resources, which is a natural resource that cannot be readily replaced by natural means at a quick enough pace to keep up with consumption. An example is carbon-based fossil fuels. The original organic matter, with the aid of heat and pressure, becomes a fuel such as oil or gas. In the previous lecture, we started the non-renewable resources with coal. I've told you that coal is a complex mixture of organic chemical substances containing carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen in chemical combination together with smaller amount of nitrogen and sulfur. It is a fossil fuel. And the energy we get from coal today comes from the energy that plants absorbed from the sun billions of years ago. Then I've told you about the types of the coal, which starts from anthracite, the superior quality, then bituminous, which is also a good quality, then lignite, and then the lowest quality is peat. I've told you in Pakistan we have bituminous and lignite, but mostly we have lignite. And lignite is considered as a low quality or low rank quality of coal. It is referred to as brown coal, and it is almost used exclusively as fuel for electric power generation. We call it a low value coal just because it has a low carbon content, so it produces more ash and give us less heat. I've told you that all living plants store solar energy through a process known as photosynthesis. When plants die, the energy is usually released as the plant decay. Under conditions favorable to coal formation, the decaying process is interrupted, preventing the release of the stored solar energy. The energy is locked into the coal. Physical and chemical changes in the vegetation transforming it into peat and then into coal. Then we learned about the locations of the coal in Pakistan, and these are like Lower Sindh. In Lower Sindh, we have coal in Lakra, Jimpir, Tharparkar, and in Tetta. Also, we have few locations in Quetta Coal Province, also in Potwa and Salt Range. And modes of transportation, like mostly in Pakistan, we are using donkey carts, and some of the coal is like transported on the railways tracks, and then some are transporting in the trucks to the middlemen. Then the uses of the coal were like power generation, domestic heating and cooking, use in industries, can use it in iron and steel industries to make it into a coke, brick kilns, ceramic industry, locomotive engines, and gasification of coal. I've told you that the coal gasification is a process of producing a mixture of gases like carbon monoxide, hydrogen, carbon dioxide, methane, etc. Through this process, we are converting the coal into a liquid fuel or coal gas. Now for today's lecture, we have a new topic, mineral oil, petroleum, on page number 136. This is also a fossil fuel and a non-renewable energy resource. Petroleum or crude oil is used in transport, power generating stations, in iron and steel furnace. Petroleum is known as black liquid gold. Of the total requirement, only 40% is produced within the country and the rest is imported from abroad. Mineral oil is the most important fossil fuel today. It occurs in porous spaces of sedimentary rocks. You know what is sedimentary rocks? Sedimentary rocks are the types of rocks that is formed by the deposition and cementation of minerals and organic particles. In these sedimentary rocks, there are some pores. That's why we call it porous rocks, porous spaces of sedimentary rocks, and is derived mainly from the decomposition of marine animal and vegetative matter over several million years. It can be found many hundreds of meters underground or under the seabed. Crude oil cannot be used in its raw state. It has to be processed and refined into useful products such as petrol for vehicles. On page number 136, you can see figure 8.11, figure 8.11, which is an anticline oil trap. So the oil is mainly occurs in the dome shape. You know what is dome shape? This is the anticline. It is shaped anticline between two layers of non-porous. It's non-porous rocks here, and between the two non-porous rock here is oil. This shape is called the anticline shape, and the dome shape means the half of the sphere. And you might have heard about the building, the roof of the building or the roof of the masjid, typically with a circular base. So here are two non-porous rocks. The oil is trapped in the anticline with gas above. This is gas, and here's water below. This is gas above and water below.
What drives our cars, buses and planes, powers our electricity, and allows us to cook our food and heat our water? Most of today's energy needs are met by fossil fuels like coal, oil and gas. These unique, high-energy fuels are non-renewable resources that took millions of years to form. About 2 billion years ago, marine organisms like algae and microscopic animals and plants died and settled on the ocean floor. Beneath other sediments in the ocean, and in the absence of oxygen, these fossils changed into a substance called kerogen. Under heat and pressure, kerogen gradually changes into oil or gas. The whole process usually takes at least 1 million years. At the molecular level, oil and gas are hydrocarbons made up of hydrogen and carbon atoms. The constant pressure and movement of the Earth's crust squeezes oil and gas through the pores or spaces within rocks. Some oil and gas reaches the Earth's surface and seeps out naturally into land or water. Often it is trapped beneath the surface by impermeable layers or rock structures, like faults and folds. Within the crust, oil or gas deposits build up and form reservoirs. Reservoirs are like vast sponges filled with oil and gas. They can be as large as a city. To find oil and gas deposits, geologists use a number of different survey techniques, including seismic surveys, gravitational surveys, and geological mapping. Seismic surveys use reflected sound waves to produce a 3D view of the Earth's interior. New technologies, such as four-dimensional projections and sophisticated graphic renderings of rock structures, are improving the way we find conventional oil and gas deposits. Energy resources that are currently difficult or expensive to extract are called unconventional oil and gas. In a world with limited energy resources, people are looking at more efficient ways of tapping into unconventional oil and gas, or at alternative and renewable sources of energy from biofuels or the sun. What do you think will be the energy sources of the future?
On the same page, page number 136, there's another figure, figure 8.12. It shows a derrick or the oil drilling rig, and I've just shown it in the video that you have seen now, and uh, that was for your better understanding. Modern oil prospecting is a technical job that requires modern scientific equipment. Once the drilling site has been selected, a derrick or drilling rig is set up. This derrick is a large steel structure that holds the drilling pipes and other equipments. When an oil platform, offshore platform, or offshore drilling rig is a large structure with facilities for well drilling to explore, extract, store, and process petroleum and natural gas that lies in the rocks formation beneath the seabed. On page number 137, another topic is oil refining. Crude oil cannot be used in its raw state. Crude oil is unrefined oil. So we cannot use unrefined oil in its raw state. It has to be processed and refined into useful products such as petrol for cars, airplanes, heating oil, kerosene, diesel oil for trucks and buses. Oil refinery or petroleum refinery is an industrial process plant where crude oil is transformed and refined into more useful products such as such as the following products like diesel, gasoline, fuel, heating oil, liquefied petroleum gas, etc., etc. Location of oil refineries. You can see in your book there are two bullet points that shows us the location of the oil refineries. Oil refineries are either located in or near the oil fields. Some oil refineries are located in or near the oil fields, like Attock Oil Refinery is located on the Potwar Plateau at Morga. Because of the nearness of the oil field will reduce the transportation cost and it will be convenient and cost effective. That's why we are trying to always make the oil refineries near the fields where we can extract the oil. Oil refineries are also located at the port of import, and this is very interesting, and you may have this question in your book that why the oil refineries are located at the port of import. So there I am giving you two reasons. You know that Pakistan is not self-sufficient in oil production. About 60 to 70% of oil is imported from other countries. Here, when we are importing crude oil, this is cheaper than importing refined oil. So it is cheaper to import crude oil and refine it locally for domestic and industrial use than to import refined products. For example, Pakistan Refinery and National Refinery are located in Karachi. And you know the Karachi is the coastal region. So that Karachi has a port. Both refineries refine crude oil drilled in the lower Sindh oil fields and some of the oil which is imported from other countries. Another reason is refineries which use a large amount of steam and cooling water need to have an abundant source of water. That's why water is also available on the ports. Another important thing for the location of oil refineries is the market or the demand factor. If oil refineries are located near the industrial and commercial urban centers with high population density, transportation and distribution of refined oil is convenient and cost effective. Now on the same page, page 137, here is a figure 8.14. It shows us the uses of oil. Let me explain the paras above. I'm reading and trying to explain it to you. A substantial proportion of Pakistan's import bill is spent on petroleum products, which is a great burden on Pakistan's foreign exchange reserves. Substantial proportion means a great proportion, a big proportion, a solid proportion. And we know that 60 to 70% of the petroleum is imported from other countries. So that is obviously a great burden on Pakistan's foreign exchange reserves. This figure identifies the uses of oil which may be grouped into four categories. And the categories are uses of byproducts. The byproducts are the following products like paraffin, wax, plastics, and etc. The second use of oil is sources of power, the thermal electricity and for heating. The third one is as a lubricant for machines. For lubrication, I just told you lubrication, greasing of something to reduce friction. And the greatest use of oil is as an indispensable motor fuel. You know what is indispensable? Very important motor fuel. It drives nearly all the motor vehicles and aircraft of the world as well as large proportion of trains and ships. The modern complex world would simply crumble if oil reserves were exhausted. Means that the modern complex world would fall down without these reserves of oil. Oil is also used as a lubricant for machine. I've told you, as a lubrication for machine for greasing to reduce friction. Friction, you know, it's rubbing. Friction is rubbing. To reduce this friction, we are greasing the machines with lubricants. It is also very important as a source of power to generate electricity. The byproducts of oil refining have many domestic and industrial uses. Now, on the next page, page number 138, transportation of imported and local petroleum. So, imported and local petroleum. You can see two subheadings, transport at sea and transport on land. So, imported and local petroleum means imported must be transported at sea and local must be transported on land. Petroleum is transported by rail, cars, trucks, tankers, vessels, and through pipelines. Which method is used to move this oil depends on the amount and that is being moved and its destination. The biggest problems with moving this oil are pollution and the chance of being spilled. Transport at sea. So this is the transportation of imported oil. The oil is transported on purpose-built ships called tankers. The best known tankers are oil tankers which carry crude oil, which are classified by their deadweight tonnage. The size of a ship is determined by the canals and straits through which it travels. The oil products, crude or refined, are pumped from the oil tanker ship to the oil marketing companies or refineries, storage tanks at Kimari and Korangi. The products may be further transported upcountry. Transport on land. On land, oil is transported in three ways: by pipeline, by road tanker, and by rail tanker. In pipeline transportation, long pipes with large diameter are used. They are moving products like natural gas, petroleum products between cities, countries, and continents. The pipelines are owned by shippers or operating companies, and the land is owned by corporate, private, and public sector. Material in pipeline is owned by the shipper. It can transport the crude oil and the gas transportation. Transportation of oil by road and rail tankers. It is relatively costly, time consuming, and inefficient as compared to transmission of pipelines. Movement of these products by road is not only dangerous for traffic, but because of their weight, it can also cause extreme degradation to the existing road. Means problems, it can create problems for the existing road. The road surface and be a danger to human lives as well. Pipeline transportation is the most efficient, convenient, and cheapest mode of transportation, beside being um, far more environmental friendly. Crude oil and refined oil. Crude oil is oil as it comes out of the ground. It contains a mix of many different petrochemicals and also impurities. Refining is the process of removing the impurities and also fractionating the oil into its different chemicals. That is, hydrocarbon is a chemical term for oil. The crude oil is pumped through pipes from the oil tankers at the oil terminals on the coast to the refineries nearby. The Pak Arab Refinery Company, PARCO, is playing an important role in the inland transportation of crude oil from Karachi. A pipeline has been constructed from Karachi port to PARCO's mid-country refinery located at Mahmood Code for transportation of crude oil as shown in figure 8.15 on page number 138. After refining the crude oil, it is supplied to the up and mid-country. The refined petroleum products are transported from Karachi upcountry by road and rail tankers to be supplied to petrol stations and other customers within Karachi. Oil is transported through the pipelines to the storage tanks of the oil companies like PSO, Caltex, Shell, etc. Consumers directly buy petroleum products from the respective petrol pumps of these companies. Parco's project for the transportation of oil. On page number 138, there is a figure 8.15 which shows us the white oil pipeline in blue color. You can see the white oil pipeline and white oil pipeline project which will carry refined oil. That's why we call it white oil pipeline, because the oil is refined. In 2002, Parco launched a white oil pipeline project which will carry refined oil from Karachi to the north. After conversion of Parco's existing pipeline network for crude oil transportation, the white oil pipeline will be used for the transport of refined petroleum products to the central and northern regions of Pakistan. You can see a mid-country refinery and the Mahmood Code. The new underground pipeline costing $480 million will also carry refined oil from the Pakistan oil refinery at Port Qasim to Mahmood Code in district Muzaffargarh, covering a distance of 817 km. The demand for petroleum products is rising at a rate of 10% per annum upcountry. And this project will also create employment opportunities in many areas of the country and will contribute to the economic welfare of the people and the country. This is the supply and demand projections to 2030. Means after 10 years, we will see the gap between the supply and the demand. You can see In 2005, the demand and the supply was almost the same till 2010. But the gap was created after 2010 till 2015. It was reached to almost 21 points. The units are not mentioned here, that's why I'm using the word 21 points here. Now, in current situation, in 2020, the gap is between supply and demand, the gap is 50 points, and it will increase by 2025 until 2030. It will reach up to 141 points. Now, the production of oil in Pakistan. Has proven reserves equivalent to 1.7 times its annual consumption. This means that without imports, there would be about 2 years of oil left at current consumption levels and excluding unproven reserves. Since 1947, many major discoveries were made in Punjab and Sindh, and drilling activities were enhanced in the 1980s and 1990s. However, oil is still the major import item in Pakistan. In the locations, until 1978, the Potwa Plateau was the most productive region. Lower Sindh emerged as an oil region in 1981, and Union Texas, Pakistan made the first discovery in Lower Sindh. The southern oil field produced more oil in 1997 to 98 than the northern oil fields. Many of the potential oil fields in the country are still unexplored due to lack of technology and the weak institutional framework. I have told you what natural or crude oil is, the unrefined oil, and I have told you the difference about the crude oil and the refined oil, the modes of extraction, that was drilling or pumping. We are using direct for it for drilling. Their uses, source of power for as lubricant for machine and as an indispensable motor fuel, which is widely used throughout the world. Their byproducts like paraffin, wax, plastic, and many more. Their modes of transportations were tanker ships, tankers, rail tankers, road tankers, and pipelines. Role of public and private sectors in oil exploration. Since independence, the government has carried out exploration and development in collaboration with many foreign companies. In the public sector, the Oil and Gas Development Corporation, which was established in 1961, is actively working. Okay, we are done with the topic mineral oil, and I'm going to give you an assignment. You have to do two questions, question number 6 and question number 7, with their subparts from page number 154 of Unit 8. Thank you so much for watching this video. Dear students, if you have any confusion, any query, you can drop your queries in the comment box. I'll inshallah entertain all your questions, and stay home, stay safe, save lives, and stay blessed. Bye.